Well, thank you for tuning back into Bobcat TV. We're going to have the post-draft coverage here. The first thing we're going to go over is the reaction to the first round. Josh Peterson goes 4th overall. We didn't see that one coming. Any more surprise in the first round from you guys?
Not for me. I think overall, I think it was pretty close to the best as far as what we kind of predicted from the get-go. Like you said, the Peterson pick going up there in the first round, yeah, that was probably a shocker surprise. I think a couple guys dropping from the first round was more of a surprise than somebody going in the first round. You know, you had a guy like a Trevor Hafner, a Devontae Washington that didn't quite make the cut for the first round.
You mentioned Devontae Washington. Brady had that the 5th and 6th pick, so it's kind of like a dual first-round pick. He gets born in Washington. I think 2 great back-to-back picks. CJ, what do you have on that, and kind of break it down for us?
You know, I think that with both of those picks, those are both guys that deserve to be around in the first round. They're their first-round guys. The thing for me, again, going back to the Peterson pick, not saying that he's not worthy of first-round pick. I just know that there's a couple things that some guys do better, some things that some guys do worse. So, you know, I think for Bredeson as a whole, I think that it was a really good first round for Nick Bredeson's team.
Stepp, anything to add on the first round?
No, you know, I know there was a whole duel of Eero, Og, 1 or 2, and to me, I think Blessing gets the win out of this. I really think that Kenny Og is going to turn some heads in this competition. I think that Eero is going to do really well also, but I think Kenny Og is going to be outstanding throughout this entire event.
Any other surprises that you guys kind of saw throughout the draft? I know we talked about that 4th, 5th, 6th round. I think some guys popped up in the 2nd. I marked here Tanner Picknich and Harris going 8 or 9 and 10. Any other comments on that, or any guys you saw go early that maybe were unexpected?
I think that today was one of the main reasons for those guys moving up, and it could have been the reason that some other guys moved down. I think that when you look at a guy like Chase Harris and Tanner Picknick, I think that those are 2 really solid picks, and with a good Jeff Hill today, I think that elevated him up a little bit from what was probably a 3rd or 4th round pick to a 2nd round pick.
I think Jeff Hill was interesting because the team captains were basically on the road the entire time, so they got to really get a good scouting report for those guys. And I agree, they mentioned it a lot in the post interviews after the picks that Jeff Hill played a big role in some guys that we didn't see going as high moving up. And Craig, what do you have? Is there any surprises other than those 2 that you saw throughout the draft?
You know, I think Ryan Christie going in the 4th round. I think that's a very good pick for Team Bredesen. I think that kid will do well in each of the events. You know, again, I think he'll be consistent. I don't think he's going to win an event. I don't think he's going to finish last, but I think he's got a chance to finish in the top 3rd in a lot of the events. So I think that's a great pickup for Nick Bredesen's team there in the 4th round. And again, in the 4th round, Trevor Hafner, you know, again, questionable how he finished up with the Hill today, but I think overall he's a tough-minded kid. He'll get over that, and he'll be ready to compete when it's go time.
Stepp, you're a little guy. Who's your gritty, big heart pick for the draft?
I think I got to go back to the pick I thought was the most pivotal pick in this draft, and I think it's Cole Rebels. I go back to this guy. Again, we talked about him, walk-on tryout, makes a tryout, and now here he is on 35-man roster, and he goes in the 2nd round as a 7th overall pick. And to me, I think he could have hopped up into the 1st round. I think there's a lot of different events that he's going to be very successful at, and the bottom line is the guy gets after it, and he's going to give it everything he's got, and I think Tony Giannini's got a great team assembled here.
Cole Rebels with the big heart pick of the night. Any surprises in the draft that might affect the outcome? I know we talked about kind of where they went in the draft, but any outcome-related picks that you think were really good for the value and kind of the team makeup as we went through the draft? CJ?
I think that a good value pick is Jack Libator. I think he's a good value pick. I think for where he was taken, what he's done over the last little bit, again, you know, from a conditioning standpoint and from a basketball standpoint, I think that's something that was undervalued. I know that that's not a high point game and a high point event, but I think that the stuff that he's going to be good at, tips, the half lappers, even the running relay once you get into some of the other stuff later on in the week, I think that those are things that he's going to be okay at. I think so. He was the guy for me that was solid in the 3rd round.
Craig, anything to add there? Anything you saw?
I think Jack Libator, again, is a guy that can help his team out. Maybe not in some of the heavy lifting, weight room events when it comes to lifting weight. But I think in the majority of the events, I think he'll be able to do just fine and get his team some good value there.
Well, we'll wrap it up. We'll make our picks here. Based on the teams that you saw tonight, kind of the mentalities going in, who's your pick for the draft or for the Bobcat Challenge and why? Starting with Stepp here.
I got Team Giannini. I think Tony and the boys are going to really turn a lot of heads. I think they've got the entire package. I think Tony can run, Peterson can run, Cole can run, and on top of that, they got. I think what the most valuable pick for their team was Cole Shinsky in the 4th round. I think that guy showed a lot of heart today, and Jeff Hill, and he can move a lot of weight in the weight room. So I got Tony G and the boys taking this thing.
CJ, who's your pick?
My pick's Breedeson's team, Nick Breedison. I like, we talked about the first round picks. Essentially, they got 2 first-rounders. So they got those guys. I think Levy's a guy. For me, it's value all the way through, right? So all the guys that they have, their stock is rising. And I think that this is the time that when your stock, this is the time when you want your stock to rise. And I think that all those guys are moving up. And they have guys that can move weight. They have guys that can run. They have guys, the only thing that I think that they may struggle a little bit is probably in the tips game. Other than that, I don't see a negative with this Breedison team.
Craig?
Yeah. There's great balance throughout all five teams here when it comes to the different events. When you categorize running and lifting and agility stuff, the tips game. My pick, I'm going to go with. I like Jerry Salisbury's team. I think they've got guys who will do well, meaning at the top, finishing at the top in a lot of the events. I don't see too many of those guys on there finishing at the bottom in events. And then I think, again, going back to what we talked about on the pre-show, I think it's all about consistency in a competition like this. If your team can be consistent and always be in the middle to the top in the finishes, they're going to have a chance to win it at the end.
I'm going to go with Corey Blessing with my pick. I know it's kind of the oddball pick out of the group, but I see the team he's assembled, and I just see a lot of solid performances. Nick Camarada, obviously, in the 7th round, people talk about his athleticism. I think he's got a lot of grit and determination. We'll see what Coney can bring to the table. That's kind of the swing for that team for me. But I think the top 4 or 5 picks that he had were just solid guys. I'm interested to see if one kind of jumps up and makes a move here during the Bobcat Challenge. But that would be my pick for this session. Any last comments before we wrap it up and send it home?
I think that for me, it's going to come down to who can manage not only their emotions but physically, because we're going to get into more of the conditioning stuff in the front side of the week, so guys may get a little tired leg-wise, and then we're going to get into the weight room in the back side of the week, obviously with Sunday being the obstacle course, Sunday also being the day that is worth the most points. So if you blow it out Monday, Tuesday, come Sunday, you may struggle a little bit to get the event that is worth the most points. For me, it does. I think that whoever we see leading after, I think we're going to see 4 or 5 different teams lead after every day. That's what my opinion is, and then whoever can get it going in the obstacle course, that's who's going to win the thing. But I think we're going to see a bunch of different people leading after every individual day.
Craig, any last comments?
Yeah, I think a huge key to this that we haven't really discussed is the time off that these guys are going to have. They're going to have 10, 11 days off, and what are they going to do in that time off? Are they just going to sit around and eat turkey and slurp gravy, or are they going to come, work out over that time and come back ready to go, So I think that's an issue that we haven't really discussed too much. We haven't taken into account that can come back and, maybe bite some of these teams in the back end.
Stepp, wrap it up.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited. I think we're going to figure out, we're going to separate the men from the boys in this thing. I think some guys are going to figure out it's going to be pretty fun at the first day with Monday being tips, and then, you end up in the last part of the week, and I think like CJ was talking about, the fatigue's going to set in, and some of those guys you're going to find out if they're going to be competitors or if they're not, and I'm really excited for that, so that's all I've got.
Pigs, chickens, men, boys, we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for viewing Bobcat TV. Join us after Thanksgiving break as we go through the 5-day stretch of the Bobcat Challenge. I'm signing off as Ryan Smoyer. This is my partner, Andrew Stepp, Coach CJ Wamsley, and the legend Craig Moore. Thanks for watching.